This is TWiT.
We are back from the break, and yes, it is time to talk about MWC. Joining us is the mobile expert himself, Patrick Holland of CNET. Welcome to the show, Patrick.
Yeah, I've been called a lot of things, but not a mobile expert before. All right.
Well, I hope you'll accept it because we certainly love to have you on the show to talk about what's going on in the world of mobile devices. First and foremost, can you tell our listeners what in the world, if they haven't heard of it, is MWC? And are we sure we're not talking about CES?
Yeah, I mean, so two acronyms. So we have MWC stands for Mobile World Congress. It takes place every year in Barcelona. And basically, it's a show all about mobile things. So phones, wearable devices and products, but also things that are related to B2B stuff. So like you have a lot of things with like cellular and telecom companies there working on like Wi-Fi, or we saw Li-Fi. That's even a thing. We're not going to talk about that. But then there's CES, and that's the Consumer Electronics Show that takes place in Vegas, and that's encompassing not only mobile, but other things. And over the years, a lot of the mobile stuff has been quietly not announced at CES, but happens at Mobile World Congress. So that'd be the two. Mobile World Congress is definitely smaller, but there's a lot more tapas and Spanish ham. So
I love that. Yeah, and it sounds like from what you just said that the conversations, or the announcements rather, that take place there are perhaps a little more important to the space than sometimes we see at CES, where it seems, and you can correct me if this sort of impression is wrong, that the big companies at CES tend to use their own stages and their own platforms, their own events to, make these big announcements. But maybe because of the nature of who's paying attention to Mobile World Congress, you do get some big industry announcements.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I think the big turning point was like during the pandemic, and I think there was 2021 where there wasn't really a show like CES, but there was like a virtual version, and all these companies were like Motorola or Samsung would announce their product like the week before or the week after, because what is virtual to someone who's not going there, and it became kind of very like philosophical, like what is CES? But I think nowadays with it, I think you're going to find it like something like Mobile World Congress. You have a company like Xiaomi, which is like the third largest maker of phones in the world. They're going to debut their big device. The Xiaomi 15 Ultra got debuted there, but they're also going to debut like show off their car section, and they have their dancing robotic dogs. So it's a better chance for these companies to show off what they can do, and they might get a little more press and maybe even hoopla about it, buzz around it, maybe is a better word, than they would if they did it on their own. So yeah, and
Understood.
in fact, Oppo is a big phone brand. They launched like the world's thinnest phone, right? It didn't launch actually at MWC. It launched right before MWC.
And so here, then showing it off and potentially getting more attention. That makes sense. Now, your the CNET team, there were quite a few boots on the ground, as far as I understand it. And your team kind of did a wrap up of the different things that were announced. And I hope we can kind of talk about it first with the best ofs before we get into the weird and wacky stuff, because it does, for the most part, seem to be an event where you are showing off. Sometimes with CES, actually a lot of times with CES, so much of it is conceptual and so much of it is just junk. And in this way, it was kind of interesting seeing some of the real stuff being announced, or shown off at the very most. One example was, I think, a kind of darling in the people who like to tinker with their devices space is the Nothing brand, right? And I'm curious to hear about the Nothing phones that were kind of shown off at this event.
Yeah, so Mobile World Congress happens at this great time of year, and especially if you are, when I was a younger tech reporter doing mobile stuff, you get assigned usually the budget phones, the phones that cost $300 or $400 that most people are going to buy maybe more than like a Galaxy S25, but they're not as exciting, right? They're basic phones, they're this, and Nothing launched two very amazing budget phones, the Nothing Phone 3A and the Nothing Phone 3A Pro. The most expensive, which is the Pro, which I think is $460 or $459, I think is the price. So well under that $500 sweet spot that we look for in a phone. If you think about something like the Google Pixel 8a, that's $500, and I think that's the right amount of money to get like the perfect amount of value for a phone. We just saw Apple launch the iPhone 16e at $600, and yeah, $600 is not a lot, but it's definitely not cheap. So to see Nothing launch these two phones that are not only like fun and unique because they have these lighting on the back of it, they're called glyphs, and they can do different things. They can just light up to look cool. They can light up for notifications, but there's no other phone like that. I mean, I think maybe back to 2018, we had like the Razer gaming phone. We started seeing like RGB lighting on phones, but this is so exciting, and you're paying like a few $100s for this. It's amazing. And then I think the difference between the Pro and the regular 3A is there basically comes down to cameras. The cameras are just a step up a little bit nicer on the Pro model than they are on the regular one. And also, I haven't mentioned the AI yet, right? And we see a lot of companies making their upgrades about AI. And while there are things like Google Gemini and Google Circle to search on these phones, the only thing that Nothing is doing is they have this really cool space on there. It's kind of like a combo of Notes app and the screenshot app that we see in the Pixel, where you can just put things that you're doing, whether it's a voice memo, whether it's a screenshot, and then it's using AI to kind of maybe collage that, for a lack of a better word. It's really early days on that. This is still very limited, but that's the kind of thing where he's like, that's something unique, something different, and something AI. I like that. So yeah, I think the Nothing phones, I'm pretty excited about them.
Something else that stood out to me, and this does fall into the concept car area, but the modular camera from Xiaomi. Tell us a little bit about that, because you do see people aftermarket adding lenses to their phones and, attaching them to cases. So the idea that it could kind of be built in and take your camera phone into the realm of being a camera is certainly appealing. What is the modular optical system?
Absolutely. So whereas like the Nothing phone's kind of geared toward an affordable phone and giving you lots of great value, this is something completely different. This is aimed for someone who's a photographer, videographer. We know like content creators are constantly being given new features, whether it's the iPhone or Samsung, that this tend to takes things to another level. It's saying like, you know what, your phone can only be so big before you can not fit a bigger lens on it. But what if you could put a lens that's like a full-size lens and a larger image sensor? So that's give you much better like photos and video quality. And then what's creative about this one, they put it all in one package. It's just kind of like a lens with a sensor on the back of it. And then it magnetically attaches to the back of a phone. And they showed off the Xiaomi 15 phone with this on there. Now, if for all those like camera nerds out there who might be listening, this harkens back to 12 years ago. Sony did the exact same thing. They had the QX10 and the QX100, and there were these lenses, and they had these larger image sensors in there, and they didn't magnetically attach to the phone. They actually just physically clipped to the phone, and it would use like Bluetooth. So you see this tech that happened 12 years ago, and you kind of see the 2025 version. You're like, man, that's great. And then on top of it, like even the little lens they were showing off, the lens cap is magnetic and can also stick to the back of your phone so you don't lose it. So it's pretty amazing. I don't know if it'll ever come out, though. Let's be honest about that. The concept is a concept, but
a concept is a concept. It's a concept.
Exactly. But, it's kind of like a proof of concept, too, because we saw some other companies do something like, we had Xiaomi in, I think, 2022 did something where they actually put a Leica lens on their 1-inch sensor. And we saw some other companies do that with their own concept this year. But this is kind of just a new thought, and I hope that maybe we see something come out of this. If it's not like a modular camera system, maybe we'll see something where it's an accessory for something that would be a modular system.
Absolutely. Now let's move over, I think, a little more to the weird and wacky. The team also
that wasn't weird. That wasn't weird enough for you.
That wasn't weird enough for me, because the next thing is pretty weird. I was reminded my youngest brother for this past Christmas received he works outside part of the time, and he received a coat that has sort of built-in warming, and you can charge it. And the first thing I thought was, because I'm originally from Missouri, he's in Missouri still. We have very, very, very cold winters, just like Chicago, and the first thing I thought was, that's amazing. That's super cool. The second thing I thought was, I hope it's not a fire risk. And so now anytime I see clothes with electronics attached, the only thing I can think of is, how far is that from bursting into flames? One thing that was that the team showed off was this cyber jacket with LEDs. Like, tell us about. And of all the companies, from Anker, tell me about it.
Yeah, okay, so Anker, if you're not familiar with Anker, they make a lot of accessories, right? A lot of charging accessories and things for phones and devices. They're much bigger than that. Now they have a sub-brand called Anker Solix. Solix, like in solar. So what this is a jacket, a cloak, I don't know what you want to call it, and it has solar panels on it. And essentially, the power that's absorbed by these panels can charge a phone. That's essentially it. What they also did, though, is they didn't stop there. They put these like LED strips in it, and they gave it a hood. So as it's charging, it actually has this really cool looking blue LED light. And one of our teammates, Abrar Al-Hidi, had an eye. We're like, Abrar, did you become a Jedi? What's going on here? This looks so cool. She's like, no, I'm just charging my phone. And she was telling me that what's neat about the solar panels is they're flexible. So it's not like a rigid panel that you might see like for like a power brick or like a generator or something you put on your roof. So they've thought a little bit about this. Again, a concept, it might come out, it might not. It sounds like it's towards more the side of it might, but it looked really cool. Reminded me a little remember that Jacquard trucker jean jacket a few years ago?
Yes.
Yeah, I keep on thinking, like, what if you combine the controls of that with the cool, like, cyberpunk of this, and then, yeah, throw in your brother's heater, we're set.
We're good to go. Yeah.
It's catch fire, right?
Yes, that's the knock on wood moment. But see, and that's the thing with a brand such as Anker, whose products I have used a bunch and that I've never had issues with, there I'm more likely to feel comfortable putting the polyester and the heated electronics next to each other versus, some random Amazon brand that I'm going, okay, is this going to be an issue?
I think that's a good motto to live for your life, is to not put unknown brands with electronics and hot things on your body.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's hopefully some advice everybody could take away. I found this other concept kind of interesting because, okay, this is an ongoing observation, I guess, that I've had, which is when you talk to people who know a thing or two about, who move toward the expert side of home media, home theater, home audio, home video, they really, truly 100% believe in their heart of hearts that everybody cares about video quality, even to like half of the extent that they do. And so they are going to, want to prioritize doing whatever they can to make the video look as good as it possibly can. Like, for example, if they have a projector in their home, they're going to close the windows and make sure that the room is dark. My experience, however, has been that the people who don't have that expertise or even anywhere near that expertise feel like Scrooge McDuck by simply just buying a projector in the first place and they'll blast that thing on like a pebbly wall. The windows will be all open. The sound is coming from this tiny little thing instead of, being connected to speakers. They don't care because they've got a projector on their wall. And so anytime I've said that, I'm like, I don't know. I don't think they care as much as you think they care. And this is anecdotal, of course, but it's like across the board that I've seen this. And anyway, they insist, no. I promise you, they do care. They want to. Okay. All of this is to say, I found this tiny little projector to be one of the most fascinating things that I could absolutely see some of these people I've talked about, going, oh, this is luxury. I've got a little projector in my pocket. I can set it up. We can all watch a little YouTube video together. Can you tell us about the little projector?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I fall in the latter camp where I had like the office projector and would put it on the wall and play like Mario Kart with my girlfriend. You know, it's like this is the height of grand living. Was it great image quality? Heck no. But
No,
yeah,
but it's big.
it's big and it's Mario Kart, and
Exactly.
it was great. And I want to just double check the name of this because I don't want to say the wrong name. But basically, this is a projector that fits in the palm of your hand, and it's kind of like. It has like two hinges, so it's got kind of three parts to it. Kind of looks like a letter Z, and that's it. And then you turn it on, and you can attach it. And it's from a company called Aurzen Zip, Aurzen. It's called the Aurzen. That's why
It's hard to
spelled it.
pronounce.
And that's why I wanted to make sure I got it at least slightly right. But basically, this is a projector. It costs about $300. It will be something you can buy. And yeah, you don't even have to plug it in. What's great is it can actually just screencast from your phone or from your device, iOS or Android, from a Mac, and you can have it anywhere. So I think it's just about fun. And I like that because I think sometimes we get so serious about our gadgets and specs and what companies do, we forget about that. Now, I will say that it was pointed out to me that this has like a 90-minute battery life. So whatever you're watching, you might miss the end of your movie. And it also has a 720 resolution, which we will be a little bit nerds here and say that is a little low, especially for something as big as 80 inches. But they are talking about another version of it with a full HD resolution, and there's a magnetic accessory that can lengthen the battery life so you're not limited to 90-minute movies. But yeah, I'm on board. I want one. I can't wait to have that thing in my backpack and just have fun. I mean, my goodness.
To me, this is, it doesn't matter to me that it's 90 minutes because this is when you are with a group of friends and somebody's talking about some little clip from a show, and then you're all going, okay, gather around my tiny little phone. I can just be like, no, don't worry. I flip this out. We're sitting at the booth. You just project it on the wall really quick and everybody gets to watch it together. Or, your 45-minute Mario Kart session. I know that this is, wireless, but you get the idea. I think this is delightful, and it's absolutely on my list of things to purchase. I think it is a cool little idea that's good to hear, not just conceptual.
Yeah, and by the way, you can plug things into it. That it's like, but you don't have to. Is what I'm trying to say.
Got it. Okay, cool. Yeah. So it does have some inputs as well. All right. I guess because I have kept you for a long time, I'll just ask: is there anything else that the CNET saw at Mobile World Congress that you think bears a mention? Of course, everyone should go and check out these two articles as well as much more coverage on the CNET website. But anything else that stuck out to you?
Yeah, I'll just hit a couple things super fast. One is we're seeing a lot of like slim phones or skinny phones. Just curious about that, if people really want skinny phones, but seeing lots of concepts for that. There's a couple AI phones. There's one from a Korean company where it can learn your personality and basically make an AI clone assistant on your phone of you. Please read that article. And the one that I think is kind of cool is HMD, Human Mobile Devices. They make a lot of like Nokia licensed phones, but they have this really cool phone called the Fusion X1. And it's geared as like a stepping stone between taking your like offline child and slowly integrating them to the online phone world. And as opposed to having an app or something that controls and restricts what your teens can access, you become that. It's kind of like having two-factor authentication, but you're the authenticator. Like, no, you can't access this, or you can't go to this thing. And so you could slowly integrate how much of their life is online and how much they experience that. I think it's a neat idea, and HMD has made some pretty compelling devices before. But yeah, I think I'd like to look at that.
Yeah, absolutely. That is of interest to me as well, huh? I want to thank you so much, Patrick Holland, for taking the time to join us today to tell us all about Mobile World Congress, to give us a little look at some of the stuff that was announced there. Of course, folks can head over to cnet.com to check out the great work you're doing. Is there anywhere else they can go to follow along with the work that you do?
Absolutely. You can find me on Directed by Patrick on Twitter, Directed by Patrick on Instagram, and oh my goodness, I'm spacing on the Instagram, whatever version of Twitter that is. I'm nervous.
Oh, Threads.
Threads. And you can also find me at Trick Holland, no PA, on Twitter as well.
Beautiful. Thanks so much for your time today. We appreciate it.